Так, консоль видно, тут видно. Графики тоже видно, но с графиками я ничего не буду делать. Так, изначальная идея у меня была показать миграцию с 9.0 на 11, потому что это прикольно в плане того, что большой прыжок между версиями, и там всякие интересные нюансы были. Но по факту 9.0 никто не использует, поэтому я подготовил вариант миграции с версии 9.5 на 11. И если это более интересный вариант, мы там можем пройтись сразу по минорному обновлению и мажорное сделать обновление в таком порядке.
Okay, let's vote. 9.0 and 11 and 9.5, 11. I haven't prepared any other variants. At 9.5, I have some master saves. 9.5, without patch sets. What has been prepared for the minor preparation and then major preparations. Okay, let me introduce myself. Andrei Salnikov. Representative DT company. We are as the remote database administrators, and we do the consulting and servers for other companies, and also the public service that we share our knowledge during the conferences. We take the topic which is interesting to others, so you will not learn from us any high-edge information, but we have some working solutions that prove the reliability in the forecasting results. As for an update, first of all, we do the minor changes, and the importance of them is that when you have a new release being introduced in the modern world, they do not use the Postgres, and they're waiting for new patches, and so the big bugs are tested, and so it's less active when it was done before by the amateurs. Many people were not using it in the commercial area, in commercial sphere. So the minor changes should be used when there is a new release. There are lots of new bugs, and the latest one, the bugs with vacuum and freezing in the template 0 database, because it is forbidden to work with it. So the system catalog is sort of like nailed. So when we have the freeze, we have lots of errors coming in. So if we do not make the changes manually, and if we don't do the new upload, then our database will be dead, and we can only upload it in a single mode. As for the documentation, according to the documentation, how can we upload the database? We use the master and replica. The replica is the reserve for the hardware, and if we use the hardware service, the high accessibility, for instance, if you want to distribute the load for the reading, it's better to sleep with replica than with the real system. So first of all, you renew the replica and then master server, and this is a good thing, correct way to do, because in the replica protocol, sometimes you can get lots of changes that will not be compatible. So we try not to get into this. Sometimes the bugs have to do with replica, and there are some changes that can break the compatibility. So I'll show you a few examples in Vita, Buta. For CentOS, I'll give some comments. These are two operational systems. that are used now. We also have some people that use Genta and some other distributive syntax. With BSD, we don't use it for the last year. We haven't been using it for starting last year. So I'll try to demonstrate that. We'll have a look. Maybe it's like an advertising or anti-advertising of Yandex Cloud that they had the keys for. Let me demonstrate you the following. Now I have master server with PG bench, with some sort of load, and these graphics can be used when we want to see the downtime of the database. And also I want to demonstrate you the replica with PGB bench, which generates PG bench, which generates some sort of traffic, and the monitoring metro, which is also used for, which also generates the traffic when you use it in the database. What do we need to know before we want to update the system? Let's do some actions. I hope the internet will be running fine. So first of all, let's read the release notes, so that when we have minor updates, we need to know what should be the changes. The situations can be different. I remember the case when we had some BT index, we had to reinstall them. Sometimes some of them, sometimes all of them. Well, the bugs was compatible, and we had to reinstall all the indexes. So there are different bugs that show up, and sometimes they provide like a recipe when you see the bug, read the patch stats, and what actions you can do in order to resolve this problem with that bug when you do the update of the system. How do we use the packages? First of all, we use the simple repository, so to say, the progress. The Ubuntu with the repository, and CentOS has its own repository. Based on the update of the system, of the base itself, when we install the packages, we are waiting for the restart of the database. In Ubuntu, we have specific solution, very good solution. It has its wrapping and the services of Postgres operating those services, and we can look up at the file, start conf in etc in your versions and mini cluster that you have created, start conf file. You edit this file, and there are 3 parameters that you need to specify. So we need to specify disabled, so that the server, the standard PGCTL cluster, which we start the system through CTL and needed through PGTL cluster, for them not to start up the database when you want to install the package. So we need to write down disable, and in this case we manage the system CTL or CTL. So it understand that we do not need to install the base when we install the packages. In case of CentOS, you need CentOS. In any case, you need to hack the package or to tell it that you want to restore the base, restart the base. The database will not be restarted, so I can update repository, the information, and then to install the package that I need. Now I have 9.5. I'm going to install 9.5. And repository for the Ubuntu, keeps the updated version of the patch set for Postgres, the last minor version 9.5, and CentOS keeps 2 last versions. This is the rules of the repositories. So in Ubuntu, during the links, everything will be pulled in. So I'm not doing anything with the base. I'm just installing the packages, and the database is running, and it's up. It's in its working mode. And based on the graphics, we can see that. So every 20 minutes, if we don't see the peak, then everything's fine. So we install the new packages, and we need to restart the database with new binars, binary modes. So, and to work with patch version of the binaries. So for us not to wait until the database is stopped.
С базой данных-то мы мучиться не будем, а вот с интернетом, судя по всему, будем.
So we need to upload all the changes which happen in the memory, on the disk. In case of Replica, we need that to do it in two times. Now I need to switch onto the master server to switch in, to make the changes at the master server from memory, from the disk memory to go to the replica, and then to make checkpoint of the replica. So the replica sends the info to the disk and to restart and have a quick restart. So we switch into the master server and give the order for the checkpoint. For the checkpoint, it initiates the memory to the disk. Now Postgres started the checkpoint, and to guarantee, to do it like second time, to guarantee that everything has been changed, will be sent again to Replica. And when we go to Replica, we also ask the Replica to make a checkpoint. Well, in the database we'll get some information, but not many changes will be made. And the checkpoint, it is set up in a certain way, so it's working for a long period of time, 1 hour, 4 hours, 6 hours, or not like 4 minutes in the default. So if you check the configuration of your database, then your checkpoint has been prolongated. So we've done with the checkpoint, all the memory sent to the disk. Now we can restart the database. So thanks to the checkpoints, we can stop the database and to restart it. And KTL cluster, so let's see that it should be working with. And manage it, we don't forget about that. Even if we forgot that, it will take us about a minute. And we have updated the replica. It's been restarted. And we, thanks to the checkpoints, just a second, for us, available. You see the client unfortunately hasn't been renewed, so I need to renew the client, so it's 9.15, 9.5.15, it's a new version, and we do the same thing at the master. We update the packages, we edit the start conf in order to avoid the situation when a database will accidentally restart again. So we say system.ktl, we give the order to reread the configurations, so we update the packages and we restart the database. It will not take much time. Let's update the database. Let's make it fair. One of the disadvantages, the PG bands may fall off, so I need to restart the benches as well. Updated this one. Install PostgreSQL 9.5. We reinstalled the packages. And after the package is installed, we need to change the start conf. So the operation system, CTL cluster, could manage that, and we'll restart the database again. So as you can see, the checkpoint took us a long time, but if you don't do the checkpoint before the restart of the database, through all out this time, you will wait till the database is stopped, and the database is stopped, it makes the checkpoint. So you have to wait this for the checkpoint to be finished. In some of the cases, since I don't have this, I only have 8 gigabytes of the operational memory and 4 gigabytes and 75 shared buffers. So if you have 200 gigabytes of the operational memory, and if you set up for 75% of the buffers, then it would take you quite a long time, especially if the disks are not in a good shape. And if they're in a good shape, it still will take a lot of time. So now we will restart the database. So make sure that it's running. So it took us just a few seconds, and for the application that could look like a network error problem, let's say error problem, network. If you have quite a big memory, then you have to wait for some time when the share buffers are warmed up, so to say, and when you get the data into them, which you need for the work. So after the restart up, the database will be a little bit slow because of that. In CentOS, since the package is restarting the database, then in this case you need to update the data from the repository and make the checkpoint based on the data. And after that, install the packages, and then restart of the database will happen, and you need to make sure that it's alive. So after this update, this periodic procedure will help you not to have a headache in case there is a bug. but nothing happened yet, but might happen. So you need to do that at least 4 times a year. This is when we have the release of the minor changes of the system, and then you have a good night's sleep. Now I will put the big bench backwards again, and we'll get to the major updates, which is more interesting and takes more longer time. Like it takes more time. Sorry for the internet availability. One batch has been started, and the second batch started as well. So let's proceed to the major changes. As for the minor changes, please follow up. For the minor changes, this is a good thing for you not to have a headache. What are the major changes for new functions? And the second one, the engine, for the engine, the second query, and every time when they add more functions to this for the parallel queries, there are lots of optimizations being implemented, because when someone is developing the code and writing that code, he thinks, oh, okay, I need to change the code because the solution was not correct for this functioning, and as a bonus we get a better performance in this or that case. So when you do not need some, let's say, goodies for a new update of the Postgres, then you need to update it in any ways, because the engine helps better. Like the system is getting better, and it's much better for you to work with a database. So major updates and changes. First of all, you need to test it of the update of the database, and then when you follow up into the production, so all the procedures will be tested, and by copy-paste you will do the from editor to console. To the client, Postgres is being updated with PG utilities, which is Downtime, and you need to be ready for this. This is Downtime is a good thing compared to with upgrade, seamless upgrade. So do not be afraid of such upgrade. So before the upgrade, we need to prepare a few things. We need to have the ready Congress and Conf, and to upgrade the parameters, because from version to version, the meaning of these parameters changes. If we upgrade it from 9.5 to 11 version, then for val logs levels, the level where you write the val logs, the parameter has changed. Val level, val down underscore level. It was hand standby, and now it's called Replica. So if you start with a hot standby, the database will understand and will start up this parameter as Replica. It's on because it's on default, but in the beta case, you need to do the checkup, because some of the failures can be because of the incompatibility. You need to change the configurations. You prepare Conf for the new database. I have prepared some configuration for the version 11. If we check up wall level, then it's equal to Replica. So I did it on purpose. Usually it's on default, but I decided to show this to you. And another thing that we need to keep in mind is the extension that we use in the database. Some of the extensions are being written with the support, and you need to update.
And yes, and with some extensions it doesn't work, because if we take Postgres, and Postgres is widely spread extension, by the way, and if we take a look at this picture, I don't know whether it's good readable or not, but for version 9.5 I deliberately installed 2.3 version of KISS, and in Postgres 11th, by the way, it is still there, it's still present. And if we take version 12, it's not going to be supported anyway. You first should install PostGIS and then update your database. So let's take this way and update PostGIS for a higher version. Again, to update, we need to update it both on master and replica. If you have the distributed reading load, so you will have to make the update of the extension, and then to avoid any failures on replica, to make sure the queries are working well. Of course, you will have to monitor logs to be sure that you don't break anything, even if preliminary you test it all in your test environment. Let me show you now this. I've got a script which I use. You can use it too. Of course, you can use a similar script. In order to assess the situation, I wrote a simple script. It pulls up all extensions which we have in the databases in order to be able to evaluate what is installed there. Now I'm gonna repeat it, maybe, well, to get the full picture because of the screen resolution. As you can see, Postgres has two extensions, PG.statement and HStore, and also I've got in my PGB base where my bench is working HStore and PostGIS, and PostGIS has version 2.3.3, and it's advisable to update it. In principle, it doesn't depend on the database update, but sometimes if you forget that your PostGIS is an older version, these things are not able to be updated without PostGIS. Let's just go and install necessary PostGIS packages. It does not in fact affect your database. You can easily install them. I'm sorry for the slow internet connection, but anyway, it's better as if I did it in Docker. We basically install PostGIS both on master and on the replica. We installed it on the master, so we can update the extension. We enter the system, go to the database, PostGIS, update. We use alter extension command. We write PostGIS update, and the update is going on. It doesn't require any pre-work. You can do it on the fly on the working database. But preliminary, still you need to get acquainted with the release notes for the extensions, especially about Postgres, because you can find there some useful comments if you use some specific functions, for instance. Anyway, you would have to suspend this functionality. We updated Postgres. If we check the extension, it's now version 2.251. We can migrate to replicas completely, and database is absolutely new. We couldn't have installed packages. The extension would come there anyway, but in this case we couldn't be using the extension, and we would see then errors in logs. Let's check the replica. The replica is working, is running, and let's now move to the updating procedure. We prepared configuration files, we prepared our extensions, and now we need to install the packages of the new Postgres version. What shall we do for this? First, we should edit the file, start conf file, to avoid any problems. In case of Ubuntu Debian, it's necessary. In case of CentOS, it's not necessary, because CentOS keeps different Postgres version and different packages which are not interrelated. But yes, well, preliminarily you have to check it, of course, because we had situations when some cases of restart happened, but in KTL system there's a complete mess, and we can't just find the proper way there. Okay, let's start conf command in order to to make sure there are no unexpected restarts. Let's make reload of system KTL and put up the list of packages if we do not remember what kind of packages are there. And in our case, we don't. And well, it's always good to recheck, to double check. We see Postgres code 9.5, Postgres 2.5, which is the version we need, and no other things from the database. So we install new versions 11 as we planned. We install new packages, new versions of packages, and meanwhile we check our database whether it's running, and we had here 10 minutes ago a gap where bench failed during restart. Since that time the database is up and running, and we are handling all the preparations for the upgrade. All packages are being installed. Meanwhile, I place configs where necessary and describe steps to do next. This is Postgres 11 installed, and next we won't need this input anymore. Next step, we have to create an empty database of the new version of Postgres. Things we should be guided by is the availability of checksums, because our database has to be with checksums or without it. They are not compatible in between, and so the locations with the database in production. This information can be easily retrieved from Postgres. It's called data checksum. Such parameters which we touch only once, we don't remember their names normally. We check the status of checksums. Checksums are not included, and then we check the process of data creation. We take template 0 database. That's how we create a cluster, because template 0 has coding and collations which were written while cluster initialization. And in this case, our collation is English American, and the coding, with the proper coding, when we're going to create the empty cluster, we have to indicate the coding, collation. We can change it later. The most important thing is to indicate proper coding, and checksum, with checksum or without checksum, to create the cluster, and then create cluster. As a matter of fact, version 11 was already created in the same way. I didn't do anything specifically. I just checked the same coding, collation, collate the same, and checksums are also the same. Means they are disabled. Checksum is off, so we can use this cluster. I'm gonna stop it now. Version 11, cluster version 11 will be stopped. Okay, let's check out what we have in Ubuntu 11.5.3.4. I'm gonna stop this cluster and make a copy of it. Why we will need the copy, you will understand in the process of our work. I will explain later. I stopped version 11. They are stored in Ubuntu on this path, directory, version number, number of cluster, and data file. Version 11 in our case, and in CentOS something similar. We have main directory, main. I will make an airsync in order to have its copy. And then I move to the next step. We have to check the compatibility of clusters. There is a command, PGHB, but this command doesn't check everything. Before, you need to take the dump from the old version of the database and roll over the new one. Why is it needed? It is needed to detect all errors which will not be shown during PG check. For dump, we have an easy command, a simple command. Let's find it. The command is like this. We take the framework dump, we take the roots, the rights of users, and objects of all databases without the data. And by this command, we can check the compatibility between all the new version of databases and whether we can make a rollover without errors. Let's start this command. And at the same time, I'd like to note that all these procedures have to be done while preparing your upgrade and before you make the upgrade in production. Check once again with the dump. It is always useful because some programmers sometimes don't tell you about all the new deployments. Sometimes it happens that developers do something with the database without informing you, without informing the administrator about it. We have made the dump. Now let's check how it works. To do this, we should pull up our version 11. We should restart it. Version 11 is starting. Dump can be changed very easily. Since we have the native SQL, we just execute this SQL on the database which we have. Just don't forget that you need to use another port. We use pgdump on version 11 and see what will be the errors. This error will persist because Postgres role should be created every time. It's the only error which you can ignore while rolling over the dump over the database, over the new version of the database. And let's see. Great, we have another error. And basically this is the connected error. I created an element which is related to pgstart activity element, which gives us information about the session of Postgres, and the system representations change from version to version. And in this case, while rolling over schemes over the new Postgres version, we are not able to make this element. We can delete this element. We just create a new viewer in the new version. If you use any third-party viewers, well, you should go and see whether they're available for a new version. If they are available, so delete the old one during upgrade and create a new version for the new one. Basically, I will do it now. I will delete the viewer. Wrong one. I delete the view. No more errors, but to make sure we need to double check that everything is okay. So let us now install version 11, and we need to reinitiate the database. To do this, I copied the binary data file in a separate catalog. So very carefully, without taking the breath and thinking twice what we write rmrv 11 and the data directory of our database, and delete. In this case, the replica allows us to work easily, and if we make a mistake from 11, we write 9.85, we just get a slight downtime. If we don't have replica, well, we are in a big trouble. I'm gonna copy what I took back, not to spend time for initialization. And now once again I will have to take another database dump. And at the same time we don't do anything with version 9, we're just checking what's possible. Okay, let's launch the database. We are starting. Take the database dump again. And we will have another error right now. So meanwhile, the database is restarting. Let me take the dump in a separate window. Okay, internet is quite slow. Otherwise it would go faster. What is about PG bench? It behaves strange. Well, I have to suspend it, so it wouldn't disturb us. Machines are not very big. Besides, we have problems with the internet. If we didn't have these problems, so it would go faster. And it would be everything much faster. I stopped BG bench. I have our dump now. Most likely we have a blocking there. And while taking dump, well, yes, let's try to roll it over again. And let's see whether we got rid of the errors we had before. Well, look, here we go. I received the error that we have already this table space. Do not forget about if you use several table spaces during checking, we will need to clean these table spaces in the database. In principle, for the moment, we can delete what was created by this table space. And we can run our dump repeatedly. I deleted the table space. The database should be stopped anyway. And repopulate it again. Well, until you're sure that your PG dump goes without errors, there's no point to move on. You don't worry that you don't have much time, because the upgrade will not take long. We rolled over the database. Now let us start it. I hope we started it and we checked. Everything's fine, dump without errors, so we can stop our database again and we can bring back empty files. Now we can go over to the upgrade itself. because we're sure about our dumps. All schemes are being migrated without problems, and we need clean data files. We need to have clean data files from version 11. Well, basically, I take now the config I prepared for version 11 and I pour it onto the server to use it with the database as is.
I poured the config version 11. Now I want to change PGHB. Now what we have here. So I poured new configurations, and now we can create the command for the upgrade. It will look the following. I need to make some changes in the paths. We are going to use, it's necessary for us to use for the upgrade. We need to use the upgrade from the maximum version that we have. For that, we need PG upgrade version 11. So we'll find where it is with that long path. This is Ubuntu CentOS, Ubuntu Debian, and for the CentOS, the path will be looking like that. And then we write down the command for the upgrade, the path to the binary. For version 11, the path for the binaries, for the rest binaries, for the older version, and for the new one. Because we have 9.5, we need to write 9.5. And here we type 11 and the path to the data files. 9.5, type 11 here, main cluster. And then we need to specify how many flows. We have 4 flows. And the key specifies us that we're not going to copy this file, but PG upgrade can in 2 modes. And copying the copying files mode is a safe one, so you do not destroy your old cluster, but it takes time for the copying. So in this case, we cannot do that because on the disk I don't have space for the database. My database takes up to, let's wait till it's about 80% of the disk space. That's what it takes. Then we write down the configurations with a small letter from the older version that we want to use and the configurations for the new ones for the time of the upgrade and the checkup before the upgrade. Why do we need to write down the share buffers? When we use the maximum share buffers, then we don't have the 2 instances if there are 200 gigabytes and you've shared the shared buffers 150 and 300 will not get fit into 200. So for us not to, for the directories and the logs, we can specify that, or we may not specify that. So for us to see the logs in our homemade file of Postgres, we specify the port, and on the default it can be specified before, and the flag C tells us that we need to check it without the real upgrade. We just do the checkup. And let's check if the upgrade is possible. I think it's fell off. And then we start up. No, something's wrong. Something that I didn't like, so it didn't start up. Let me delete this. And let me delete the port. And let's try it again. Let's try to upgrade it again. Let's try the possibility of the upgrade again. Let's do the checkup, the test. It says it could not connect to the server. What port? So on the default, it specifies the port. Let's see what it's written in the logs. Why do we need to do that check for such situations when we have an error that we didn't expect to happen? And then we need to see what's written there. Not access to server configuration. So everything's right. A configuration. I forgot to write that we also have. Let's go to Postgres again. So we specify config file. For CentOS, we don't need to specify that, but Ubuntu and Debian, we need to specify where PostgreSQL.conf is. So when we start up this database for the system, it is not clear where it's located. So the database cannot start up because I didn't write the PostgreSQL.conf. That's for version 9.5 and 11. So for the new major, it's 0. Now everything's going to be fine. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alexei. So now we do the check and we see that the classes are compatible to each other and we can upgrade the database. After we make sure that the system for PNG is being rolled out correctly and we did the checkup, now we announce the downtime for our application and we start the upgrade of the database. So make the announcement, we put up the windows, that maintenance is being done. What we do next, we go to Postgres and do the checkpoints to get rid of the dirty pages to the disk memory so we can stop the database and upgrade the database. Now we stop the database. Do we start with a standby or with a master? We need to upgrade the master. We do not touch standby yet. We do not do anything with it yet. So we stopped the database. We went back to the upgrade command. We get rid of the flag C, and the upgrade is running. So the database is 50 gigabytes, and it took only 4 seconds. Now for the database, version 11, we need to do the startup. Just a second. The favor as the space on a table. Let's delete that. Here there is a database and the table space. Now we delete to that's PG dump that I have created, and I forgot to clean it up. Now I see what happened. I need to update it again. Now I need to pour out the binaries again, the clean data files. So it's guaranteed. I think this was the problem, most likely. Copy main version 11. This is it. So we should not have any problems now. Yes, I forgot to clean it. So it takes about 5 seconds. Now we start up version 11 the way it should be. So this version 11 has created 2 files, analyze new cluster, sh, the script that we need to do before we add the client to the database. So we need to look at it. So you see that analyze stages and analyze only, basing on your database. If it's not too big and you think that you can solve the statistics, you can put just analyze only. If you cannot compile the statistics fast enough, it's better to do it stage by stage. Let's do it stage by stage. Why do we need to compile the statistics? Because with PG upgrade, we can be lost. And when you add the clients, then it generates the list of the queries, and the database does not know how to compilate it. So 1 goal, 10 goals, and 100 goals, 3 stages. We do not let the clients in when we add up to from 1 to 10. So we need to have about 300 lines from the table, and we create the statistics. When we have 10 goals only, and we compile the statistics based on 3,000 lines, then we need to add the client to the database, and they can read something from it, or the plans will not be very correct, but this will take time and together and compile all statistics together. When you need to do full statistics, then we need to watch out for the art vacuum in the database, so there is no conflict with the compiling and the vacuum system that comes in and starts managing this table. So before we need the statistics to be finished. So with the number of the database, now we have database version 11. And as you can see, the downtime did not take much of our time. With version 11, the downtime does not depend on the size of the database. It depends on the number of objects in the database. The average downtime with such type of upgrade is 5 to 10 minutes. So meanwhile, even with the bugs that I had, I started about 20 minutes ago. And 29, I say 5 to 7 minutes for the downtime. In case you have a staging database, I had some variant when I upgraded the database. When I had with Postgres, I had 10,000 databases. It took me 1.5 hours to upgrade the database, and that time mostly took for the creation of the objects of the database. So if you are going to use not linked path but through copying, then you need to take into consideration the time for copying. With an active replica, you have no need to copy the files. And for us to upgrade the replica after you started a new version of database and bring up the load back to database, with PGBench has been disabled. Let's put 20 minutes and let's see how much was the gap precisely. So we see the graphics, the database was, so maybe upgrade was less than a minute. What do we do with the replica? Do not touch it, but look at the master. Maybe if you have problems, then you can promote replica and go back to the old version of the database. After a few hours or even 24 hours based on your load, and making sure that you have no problems with the new version of the database and the production. You know the testing does not take everything into account, but after some time you pour this replica from the master database, and this is how you upgrade the replica. If you have high load on your system, then you need to do the way the Yandex do through rsync. And when the replica rsync is being made, when the replica has to be updated with some flags, but based on that speech that they provided from Yandex, they said that they broke their database with following this path. They do promote to version 9 and then manually what you've created wrongly in the version 11. This is the problem of the developer, so that doesn't have to be on a DBA case. On a standby, it's a binary copy of the database. So you update standby, but before that you need to promote it and create the master first. So in other words, when we do the standby, it will be irreversible without log. It will not take the information from the old version. In standby, in the master server, it will try to connect, but because of the difference in major upgrades, the master will sort of like it will bounce back the request for the connection. So my goal was to show. I wanted to ask questions from the very beginning. When you try to install the SDL for the new version 11, when to upgrade the database from the dump version 9.5, you had the scheme which you dropped the view. No, the table space, which you killed in 9.5. No, I did not delete anything in version 9.5. I'll show you now. So I'm interested if I have a database 9.5 and a separate table space. Let me show you so that you could visually see. I'm sorry, it's not possible to see what's written on the screen. So I created on purpose a folder table space. It's 9.5, which is created February 3rd. It's still there. I deleted table space for version 11 because when you do the PG dump rolling, there is a command table space. And a table space, it's written this one version. When creating the table space, it creates the subcatalog with a prepared version. So when you do the upgrade, there is no conflict with the names. For version 11, PG 11. For 9.5, it's PG 9.5. With the upgrade that I had, the links have been created from the folder 9.5 to the folder 11. So I deleted the table space from version 11 because the Postgres, so that Postgres could create this folder, this file for the next operation. Why not to use the PG upgrade cluster command? This rep has been written for Ubuntu, and what it does inside, I have upgraded myself only once when I upgraded the Postgres. At the same key link, what it does through the hard links, we upgrade the cluster. When we serve the Gentoo, Ubuntu, Debian servers, it's better to use what is there in the box. What's in Ubuntu wrapping is hard to say. PGCTL clusters we patch from time to time, and we patch not because of the upgrade, because Postgres does not work with some of the nodes, so we need to patch this cluster. With system, the CTL clusters, because of the same reason. It's useful to use them, but they have some things that are implemented, and when we need something more, it's not there. So it's better to use what's in the box, because the functionality is fully represented in the box. So I not what the maintainer prepared. If it has the same functions, use it, but it's more safe to use the binaries of the same version. Especially in Ubuntu, the link is provided for the script, which is somehow linked to the PG upgrade. Do you think we need this PG upgrade in the end?
It's basically the same in this case, because maintainer is the same person and does the same, and the repository is the same. One small question, please, from why you need a huge page, just to make it on the safe page, on the safe site, or what? A huge page. Look, when you have big databases, please turn on huge pages. It's a recommendation. And if, for instance, you forget to indicate shared buffers and you try to launch the database, then it will fall in the same way as it was in my case. So just a double assurance, right? Maybe in the analyzer it's the number of, it's not the number of lines, but the number of pages. The setting, when you analyze in the settings of Postgres, there is 100. It means 30,000 lines, 30,000 pages, no? It is the number of pages. We need to open the documentation. It's the multiplier for pages, not for lines. You should check it in the documents. I don't remember exactly. What shall we do? No microphone. Data checksum. How to? When we need to put on data checksum, we make pg dump all of all data only through pg dump, or do we need to make replication? Logical replication is possible if you really need it. You will spend time for preparation of logical replication, for preparing the scheme in the new version, setting up the replication, then you switch the data, and how to then compare old version, new version, make these checks, double check that everything's fine, and then you switch to the new master. Yes, it's possible. We have clients who do like this through the logical embedded replication of the Postgres. But the preparation took 3 months, and the first migration, first switch was with errors. They had to roll back to the previous Postgres version, prepare again. They spent more months, several more months, and with the second try they succeeded. They promise in the commit the amounts when it's going to be done. We don't know, maybe in version 13 or 12 We all waiting for this because they really need it. But historically, one more question. Postgres extension is upgraded. It is supported before version 11 and others and above. What shall we do with things which are not supported? Lendista, for instance, actively used but not compatible with version 11. What shall we do? If, well, it's absolutely not compatible, then you have to be sad. In case of PGQ, we use it actively. PGCoop, it's a maintainer of Ubuntu. Ubuntu deleted it, but we just assembled it to clients who use PGCoop. In addition to PGQCoop, we offer an installation on demand, and we just do it for them. If you can do it in Lendist, well then, yeah, it's good. If not, then take a look at the embedded logical replication. I will be here several days anyway. I have to leave this room after some moments. You can contact me. Well, until we're here, please, more questions. Thank you for your presentation. Historically, in our organization, we have dozens of different bases. They are all installed without versions. What would you advise? What do you mean? It's just usually PostgreSQL without version number. It's not possible. The version number, no, you don't understand. In the path during installation, initdb was indicated without version, without 9.5, without the catalog. It's not a problem. You can just install a different catalog. In APG upgrade, we indicate where old data and where new data files are located. And there we can have some data dir or something. And just rename. Yeah, well, the files from data dir can have better links. You can delete data dir because the second script, which was created a little bit before this script, it deletes the old database. Does it delete even copying and the link, whatever? If you have hard links in one file, has two names. It just removes the second day. And what if they want to leave it without the version number in the catalog? So in this case, you can make an upgrade and delete the old catalog, rename it. But of course, it's better to put in the version. It allows to find it better in a better way. I forgot to tell you one thing. Due to problems of internet, after the upgrade, do not forget to update your extensions. Using a script, I'm going to show it to you. Approximately same script will be relevant for this. There is a script which can be run in the same way, but it writes not the database, but the alter extension prepared line for you. It gives me this line, and afterwards you should update the extension. Why is it needed? Based on the reversed compatibility rule, it should work. In order to get the new functionality, we need to make an update. This procedure, please don't forget about this procedure after the upgrade of the database, but it can be done on the working database after 1 day, for instance. So please note it for you, because last time I also forgot about it. One more question. In the beginning of your presentation, you said that you are a supporter of PG upgrade, and you tell us why. I explained the guys prepared 3 months logical replication, then they had a fail, then another 3 months for preparation. The labor costs were very high, and here we can do it just on the fly right away. The downtime 5 to 10 minutes. Let's calculate it, and let's just see. Let's divide it by 60 and multiply by 365. 1.5 million minutes. And let's divide 15 minutes by 1.5 million. This is the part. Multiply by 100 to make it easier to understand. 0.003% of the whole year downtime for upgrade, and well, that's why I'm not supporting it. Is it necessary to check consistency after PG upgrade, and we just hope that everything is integral? PG dump should be taken, of course, before upgrade. You'd better take PG dump, and PG upgrade also has to be followed by PG dump. This is the procedure which has to be done from time to time. In principle, it is not required because data files are not touched, only the database scheme is changed, transaction counters are being rolled back to the previous state. In version 11, transaction counters are deleted and the new one are taken from the previous version. And all data files are linked. They are not touched. Why to use PG dump why to use PG dump constantly and delete some objects in the database if you are able to start PG upgrade, and that's all? There are such errors which can't be tracked by PG dump. For HIT or for all the versions, if you made upgrades, at some point the operator was deleted and it won't catch this program because this operator is updated and it's not supported by the new HTOR. PG upgrade will give you a normal check, but in the real operation it will bring up error and you won't be able to find what's wrong. Such situations are related mostly with older extensions, with upgrades, then someone forgot about them, and there are many things which are not used, they are deleted from new libraries, but they are still in the database. So if we preliminarily upgraded all extensions, it's possible. Yes? Most probably you won't face this problem, but as a rule, people forget about it. Look, I also forgot it. And many other persons will forget to update their extensions. Sometimes it's needed very urgently, or a problem comes up which is being solved and then forgotten. You'd better do it initially up front and then go with the checklist and check if everything was corrected. In Postgres Professional, there is an interesting small tool made as an extension which allows to upload the statistics in form of SQL commands in PT-stat and then download it back. Didn't you try it? It's transferable statistics. There are no problems. There are not many problems with statistics because we can gather the minimum necessary amount very quickly to start the base. Then statistics can be gathered gathered with normal tools. You can just sit and monitor. It was never a problem. The downtime is a little bit longer due to the list of targets of statistics, and then you start the application. It hasn't been a problem anyway. The problem was that in big shared buffers, the warm-up of data goes longer, and the queries are being delayed longer. That was a bigger problem versus the statistics. Another question: restoration of buffers in version 11. Are there any hidden problems? We haven't installed V11 anywhere. And what about tests? Our tests, well, I didn't test anything. I don't know, Alexei, maybe. Well, we didn't make checks. On default, it was enabled. I disabled. I tried. I had a feeling that it was not working properly, so I just didn't continue, and I turned it off. If you have more questions, I'm here in this conference 2 more days. Please contact me. If you make an upgrade and everything fails, please come to me. If not, then so I can give you some perks and bonuses. I hope it was useful for you. Thank you.